Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
A sigh of relief in Mahnomen, Minnesota, after an unknown substance that set off a lockdown and sent 7 people to the hospital was determined to be non-toxic.
An employee at the Cenex gas station came in contact with the white powder after a customer paid in cash. This time, no one was seriously hurt, but that may not always be the case. Valley News Team's Veronica Marshall looks into how clean is cash and has more for us. Veronica?
Bills get passed around all the time without any worry, so you may not always think about how dirty your money is and how it can affect you. Well, one study found about 90% of U.S. bills test positive for cocaine, and it's not the only drug that contaminates cash. About 70% of bills tested positive for heroin. Morphine, meth, and PCP were also found on dollar bills as well. Fortunately, experts say the amount of cocaine found on cash isn't enough to cause health risks, but health leaders here say they're trained to watch out for an evolving drug that is deadly in small doses.
We have been trained that fentanyl and many different strains of carfentanil, you need very small doses to make people very, very sick. The fentanyl has been continually changing how the chemical makeup of it is. So what was originally just like a few different versions of carfentanil, now there's hundreds of synthetically made versions of carfentanil.
Training documents warn first responders about the dangers of fentanyl, saying that because the drug can be swallowed, inhaled, or absorbed, any substance or surface that might contain fentanyl should be treated with extreme caution. You can find links to these studies on our website, valleynewslive.com. Andrea?
All right, thanks, Veronica. It isn't just drugs you need to worry about with contaminated cash. A study published last year found hundreds of species of microorganisms living on dollar bills, including microbes from mouths, DNA from pets, and viruses. Experts say the best way to protect yourself from getting sick after touching money is to wash your hands immediately.
Crews are getting the upper hand on a northern Minnesota wildfire. Officials say the fire in Roseau County was 90% contained as of this morning. That fire is now in the mop-up stage and monitoring phase as well, after burning about 3,800 acres of marsh grass, lowland brush, and scattered aspen. No structures were threatened, no injuries reported. Cause of that fire is still under investigation. The fire started Sunday about 15 miles northwest of Greenbush. A cold front that brought rain, clouds, and cooler temperatures helped firefighters battling that blaze.
We didn't get all that warm to begin with today, and now, as expected this time of night, we're heading back to where we started, or close to it. A better day tomorrow, Hutch?
It certainly looks like it. But for tonight, we saw some clearing out to the west, and that clearing is going to spread over the valley as we head through the overnight hours after a day which started out with some rainfall, most of which missed the FM area, but around us, numerous locations picking up a ½ inch to about an inch of rain. A little bit of rain showing up on the radar to the southwest of the FM area. It's looking like it's moving towards us, but not likely reaching the ground. Nonetheless, we may see a sprinkle this evening. During the overnight, though, we dip down into the mid-30s, so be prepared to have that jacket handy first thing on your Wednesday morning. Now, it does look like we will warm things up as we go through the day tomorrow. I'll have details on just how warm we get, how long it lasts here in a few moments.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
A federal judge has denied North Dakota's request to delay part of the ruling that found problems with the state's voter identification laws. U.S. District Judge Daniel Hovland, in his order, dismissed the state's concerns that people could take advantage of expanded identification. Hovland last month expanded the proof of identity Native Americans can use for North Dakota elections and eliminated a requirement that those documents include residential street addresses. Those sometimes aren't assigned on American Indian reservations. North Dakota officials called that part of the ruling unworkable and claimed someone with only a post office box could still vote where they don't live. The state is appealing the case.
Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton is calling for $138 million in emergency funding for schools as districts across the state grapple with budget shortfalls. Dayton unveiled his request to lawmakers as the legislature heads toward a mandatory May 22nd adjournment. The proposal would increase the state's per pupil funding formula by 2%. More than 26 school districts around the Twin Cities and 33 districts in rural Minnesota are struggling with budget deficits. Those shortfalls are a small fraction of the district's total operating budgets. Many school districts across Minnesota are considering staff and teacher layoffs to solve the deficits.
A new timeline released by investigators reveals where a Minnesota grandmother accused in 2 murders went and what she did during her time at Fort Myers Beach, Florida.
And the woman that's helping Florida authorities identify Lois Reese is providing new clues about exactly when she got into town. Reporter Oliver Redston has the details.
Tonight, a new piece to the puzzle that could place Lois Reese in Fort Myers Beach days before Pamela Hutchinson's murder.
At 1:45, this pearl-colored SUV pulls up behind my vehicles. Gal gets out, walks around. She has platinum, almost white hair in a ponytail.
Tess Koster goes back years with Lois and Dave Reese. They're from the same town in Minnesota, and at one point she even invited the couple down to her condo in Fort Myers Beach, where she and her husband spend the winters. In the days after Dave Reese's death, Koster heard the news that Lois was wanted for murder.
She looked at me as I stepped forward and said, "Can I help you?" And our eyes met, and I just, oh my goodness, my heart skipped a beat. It was Lois. I'm like, Lois Reese is in my driveway.
That was April 2nd, about 10 days after Reese's husband was found dead in Minnesota.
She came to Fort Myers Beach because of us.
Koster was scared and called deputies, but says they were unable to locate Reese.
You know how you have an intuition that somebody's watching you? I just felt like she was close by. And now in hearing reports and seeing surveillance videos, she was.
A week after the interaction Koster described, Pamela Hutchinson was found dead on Fort Myers Beach. And 4 days later, a nationwide manhunt for Reese began.
I'm just glad that she's caught and we're safe right now, or at least we feel a lot safer now.
Reese is also accused in the shooting death of her husband David at their home in Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. Prosecutors are preparing second-degree murder charges once the case in Florida is over.
We've been working to keep you informed regarding ongoing child abuse cases in our area, particularly in the state of Minnesota. Social workers tell us part of the problem in these tragedies are the lack of available resources. One social worker told us that there's a large disparity between urban areas and rural areas. Mahnomen County's Director of Social Services, Julie Hansen, tells us there's only one full-time and one part-time social worker for the entire county.
We have the highest poverty rate in the state of Minnesota. We have the highest tax rate in the state of Minnesota.
New child welfare legislation could allocate millions to train 2,000 workers and more than 200 supervisors. That proposal has to pass the Senate floor in Minnesota within the next couple of weeks, or it will miss the session's deadline.
A gig, an exhibit, and a ball, all wrapped into one tonight at Bluestem Center for the Arts. The music and art teachers at Discovery Middle School wanted to give their students an end-of-school year confidence-building experience they wouldn't forget, that being Bluestem Ball. 60 jazz band members from 7th and 8th grades, nearly 400 middle school art students, and over 500 pieces of artwork in one place for families to enjoy.
But we wanted to get out of the school and to give the kids kind of a gallery or a museum experience that they may not have gotten before. They're just really excited to be a part of this.
This is the second year Bluestem has hosted the event.
Many Americans feel lonely, and that's according to a survey of more than 20,000 adults conducted by the Cigna Insurance Company. Nearly half of the respondents said they sometimes or always feel alone or left out. And only half said they have meaningful in-person social interactions on a daily basis. Surprisingly, young adults were lonelier than older generations, especially heavy users of social media. Studies show loneliness is linked to a higher risk of heart disease, stroke, and early death.
We are still days away, but some people have already started to drag junk out to the curb. Later on Valley News Live at 10, what those in charge of cleanup week want you to know.
How safe do you feel when you're getting an Uber ride home? Up next, what a CNN investigation uncovered about the number of sexual assaults.